Fluke and the Beanstalk. Once upon a time, not all that long ago, in a desert land known as Lower Tucson, there lived a little boy. And his name was Fluke Cloudhopper. And he had a sister. And her name was Flea. And they were both under the watchful eye of their ever-wise and ever-mellow grandfather, Yoga. Times being what they were, there wasn't a lot of food to go around, and even less money to pay for it. So it was only a matter of time before Grandpa Yoga called for young Fluke to say,
"Sell the family cow? You must."
Well, in these parts, there were no cows. This family in particular had what's called a tum-tum. So, Fluke hitched the family tum-tum and went to town. They went to town. Well, unfortunately, being only in the second grade and more interested in adventure and excitement than financial matters, it was only within a matter of minutes before the poor boy was swindled out of the family tum-tum for 7 supposedly magic beans. Well, you can imagine poor Grandpa Yoga's face when Fluke came back with only 7 beans staring at him. So angry was he that he threw them out of the window to be buried in the sand and sent poor Fluke up to bed without any supper. Now that night, a very strange thing happened. Now whether it was the heat or the humidity, something was magic in those 7 beans. Apparently a mystical energy known as the fiber. Please don't sue me, George Lucas. Now, the very next day, Fluke was posed with a very interesting vegetation situation. Not being a very huge fan of eating vegetables, he could at least get some exercise in by climbing them. And so he did. He climbed up and all the way to the moon itself. Except this was no moon, and was now in the land of a great evil giant. As he wandered inside, he noticed how big and tall everything was. From the halls to the doors to the... Fluke walked right up on the wife of the evil giant. Fluke was scared silent and could only hope to beg for...
Whatever. Do whatever you want. Should have stayed at Harvard.
Deeper into the halls of the castle Fluke crept, until he came upon the throne room of the evil giant himself, Durf Nader. Except he wasn't all that evil and menacing, as he was, slumbering. Yes, indeed, the giant had fallen asleep, due to the vocal skills not of a golden goose, mind you. Droning away was a bona fide, vintage See Me redo, and made of pure gold. Taking the advantage, Fluke rescued the poor robot from the giant's clutches, climbed back down the beanstalk, and siphoned away from the castle. Once back on solid ground, Fluke showed his family the gilded robot, giving them much jubilation. At which time Grandpa Yoga deduced that it was actually the giant who had stolen these treasured items from the Cloudhopper family long ago. Knowing that there was yet another stolen family artifact, Grandpa Yoga then told young Fluke,
"Go back up? You must."
And so the young obedient boy did as his grandfather instructed. And no sooner was he deep into the halls of the castle that once again he came upon the throne room of the greedy giant, who was, lucky for young Fluke, sound asleep again, all thanks to the whistled lullaby of the robot Nader held in his arms. For lo and behold, there was a rare, vintage 1978, straight from Eastland School's Electronics, Artie Tootie. No assembly required. As the two quietly crept away as carefully as they could, they noticed the snoring had stopped. Fluke and Artie Tootie dashed away as quickly as they could, but the angry giant was hot on their heels, charging, thundering down the halls. Fluke and the robot scrambled down the beanstalk as fast as their robot engines could carry them, or him. Once on the ground, Fluke glared up as the giant was not far behind. But what do you know, that little Artie Tootie had one last collectible. As she flipped her lid, out popped the trusty elegant weapon from a civilized age, Oh, good, because for a minute... okay, well, I guess that works too. So, Fluke swung the, let's say laser sword, straight through, cutting down the beanstalk with the evil, greedy giant tumbling down, never to be seen again. And so the Cloudhopper family was now reunited with their family treasures. Fluke, Flea, Yoga, and the robots, all now living, as they all tend to do in these types of stories, happily ever after. Hey fellow YouTubers, if you like what you see, please hit like and subscribe. And if you want to see more, just click on the button where you can donate and be a paying contributor, where you can see more things like read-alouds, drawing tutorials, virtual field trips, cartoons, and more. See more at StoryJ Storytime, and I'll see you next time.